We're live. I gotta check one quick thing here. Just make sure the volume's working on here. Oh yeah, excellent. Okay, happy Saturday. Today is February 21st. That's significant because the next time we do a live stream, we're gonna have seeds going into potting soil. So that's the most exciting thing about today is even though it's 10 degrees here in Minnesota right now. Yeah, it's saying 10 degrees outside on the outside thermometer. It's beautiful, it's sunny, but it's cold. So the cool thing is that even though it's super cold and we still got ice and snow outside here in Minnesota, we can start the garden indoors next week, and actually it'll be later this week. But like I said, next weekend when I show up, uh, we're gonna have seeds and soil. You're gonna see part of the process and how we do it here at the plant nursery, where we kick off the year. But to continue last weekend's theme of what we're growing here in the garden at Meg, I got some. This is like kindergarten show and tell, right? I can't remember a few weekends ago if I had mentioned this, but I was so excited here 2 years ago when I found out about the seed variety, which I'm going to show you right now. I tried sweet corn in grow bags before in containers, and it was a miserable experience. But this one right here, if you have a container gardening, if you have no access to traditional in-ground soil, or maybe your soil's not conducive to growing plants, this right here in a container will work fantastic. I ran trials of this last year with my CSA customers, and I have nothing but good stuff to say about this right here. It's a dwarf sweet corn plant, so it's not going to be like the ones that you usually see when you're driving by the market garden farms that you have 8 feet tall corn plants. It's not that big. They're more like I think 4 feet is the tallest they got, somewhere around there, but very manageable. I did it in a 10-gallon grow bag, so in a 10-gallon grow bag, fully loaded with soil and water, it's about 40, 45 pounds. So what I'm saying is, not only does that sweet corn plant from Burpees work well in the container, but you can also move it too. So if you have a container out in the patio, or maybe something happens where you have unexpected shaded tree, or the sun shifts in the sky during the season, you can move that corn plant to another sunny spot. So once again, if you've never grown sweet corn in a container and you're looking for something that works very well in a container, this is from Burpee Seeds, sweet corn on deck hybrid. And like I mentioned a few weekends ago, or yeah, I guess it was a few weekends ago, the hybrids, that means that it's a first generation offspring, so you can totally save seeds from this plant, but the offspring from the seeds this year will not look like the parents. It's going to be mixed genetics across any seeds that you save, so just know that. We covered that in the past live stream, and that just goes back to your high school biology class. Okay, this is a new seed company that I starting a relationship with this year. Every year, I I try some new seed varieties. I also have a list of staple plants that I grow every year, and due to varying circumstances, business changes, maybe hybrid crop failures, sometimes the varieties that I like to grow that I know perform well, they're not available anymore, or they may be available from a different vendor. So from experience, even if you, let's say that hybrid corn, if I grow that for the next 5 years and like year six, I want to grow it again, but all of a sudden Burpee stops carrying that, another company like maybe Territorial Seeds will show up and they might have it for offer. But I have found not all seeds are the same. So even though it might have the same name on the envelope or the seed packet, the quality may not be the same. I'm only saying this because a couple years ago I had a problem with Oregon Spring. It's a slicing tomato that was developed by Oregon State University. It does very well. It's an early producer, which is why I love it for our Minnesota garden. The problem is the vendor that I got those seeds from, they stopped carrying them. So I scrambled to look for another vendor that had the Oregon Spring seeds, and I will not disclose the name of that vendor. I don't want to publicly shame them, but the quality was not there. And this is what I do, so I'm very experienced with starting seeds. And wanted to say it was seed germination rate or viability. They germinated fine, but once the seed started to develop, I could tell right from the beginning that something was off, and they did not perform like that same named variety had in years past. So this goes back to what I mentioned too about saving seeds. Anytime you can get an open heirloom or a open pollinated or heirloom variety, save the seeds from that, because then you're not dependent on a seed company to produce the, let's say, like a hybrid. So, and that could be tough because with hybrids they perform very well, but if all of a sudden they're not available anymore, then you have to go through the work of finding a replacement, uh, like a replacement variety, or re relocating that same variety but through a different vendor and hoping that the quality is the same there. So I'm saying that because this right here is Oregon Spring from Territorial Seeds, and this is the first time I've ordered from these guys. So we're still in the honeymoon phase. I'm sure I'll be doing updates on this variety right here, which Oregon Spring. This is now the third company that I've ordered this seed variety from, and I have high hopes because Territorial's been around for a long time, and they have a good reputation. So I'll have plenty more information once that seed starts and the plant starts growing. I plan on doing some check-ins on that. Some other plants from Territorial that we're in the honeymoon stage on, and this isn't just varieties that have grown in the past. This is actually new varieties to Meg's Edible Landscape, so I'm kind of excited about that too. But one of these is called Minnesota Midget. So this is cantaloupe, and it's going to be a dwarf plant. So I've mentioned in prior live streams that I love looking for dwarf varieties or compact plants that do very well in containers. So that's one of those this year that we're trying out. Here's another plant that I've grown just about every year since 2020, Mini Love. This is the first watermelon plant that I grew in containers, 10-gallon containers, and it's a staple here. This was another one that I think it was 2 years ago I couldn't find. I think they had a crop failure, the seed companies that provide that. So that's Mini Love. That's been around for a while. It's a hybrid too. So like I said, if that crop fails, then there's no, unless I have the parent plants that I can make my own hybrids, but that's a lot of work and a lot of time. Here's another melon, honeydew, honeycomb F1. That's from Territorial again. So this is also a trial this year. I've never grown this. This is going to go in a 10-gallon bag. Okay, that's Burpee and Territorials. This one right here is So True Seed. So I've been ordering, these guys are a niche seed vendor, but the stuff that they have does really well in with Meg, and they've been consistent. So I haven't had problems with them discontinuing seed varieties. So I only got 3 seed packets here from these guys. So True Seed, they're out of North Carolina, and they're a staple in Meg. I've been all 3 of these have been growing since the beginning in 2020. But first one is curly leaf kale. If you like kale chips, this is what I recommend right here. These are fantastic for kale chips. And I like kale plants. I call them like a super plant. They could take a frost. They overwinter here in Minnesota, so I actually have think 2 dozen of these plants outside right now overwintering because I'm gonna let them go to seed here in a couple months once they wake up. And if you've never overwintered kale, it's kind of a cool process. It's a biennial, which means it has a 2 year life cycle. First year it'll go through its vegetation stage, and that's when you harvest the leaves for kale chips or salads or however you use kale. And then the second year, in the fall, well, before the second year, it'll go dormant. It'll sleep during the winter, and then in the spring, when everything else is waking up, this plant, kale, will wake up. It'll have a quick vegetative stage, and it's only growing leaves out fast enough to where it can flower and then produce seeds. And then that happens very quickly. I'd say probably about June, the plant's done. It's already produced seed and it goes by. it, you could put it in the compost pile at that point. Uh, Another kale plant I have is Scarlet. So this is same company. This is a really cool looking red kale, and it's gonna have curly leaves too. So these are pretty close to the same plant. It's just the color looks different. So if you like variety, you like color like I like color, those are two very good performing kale plants. And then the last one I got from So True Seed is Italian large-leaf basil. So this one I've been growing since the beginning too, 2020. And if you like basil, I recommend this one. Large leaves, it does very well. If you haven't grown basil before, it is a summer annual, and it can be fussy. It likes the heat, and by it likes the heat, I mean it can't be outside when the temperature is below 50 degrees. If you have that basil plant or any basil plants that you're growing, 50 degrees is the absolute minimum threshold. If well, Minnesota, so we can have crazy weather swings, but usually that doesn't go outside until June, because by the time June rolls around, we're consistently nighttime temperatures above 50 degrees, and that's where it needs to be. If the temperatures, for some reason, possible here in Minnesota again, dips below 50 degrees, you're going to see discoloration on the basil leaves. It won't kill the plant, but the plant's going to tell you it's very upset. So there's some workarounds. You can use frost covers, or if you have a container, you just bring it inside. And then when temperatures go back to scorching humidity in Minnesota, they can simply just go back outside in the patio or wherever you have your basil plant. So this is a quick live stream today because there's a lot of preparation here, and I'll share a lot of that next weekend on the live stream. But I have a couple more large seed arrivals later this week, and I'll probably share some of those next weekend with you. High mowing seeds is what I'm waiting for, but I just placed that order on Monday. Most of these seed companies, if you order in bulk, not, they don't all do, but a lot of them have triggers. So if you go over, like Johnny's, that was the last one. If you go over $200 on the order, it'll be free shipping. So with high mowing, same thing. I usually leave that as the last seed order because if I forgot or if there's a last minute I want to try out something, then I'll just throw that in that shopping cart, and then that will be the last hurrah. So once those seeds show up this coming week, then that's it. We have all the seeds that we have for the 2026 season, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. If you don't have seeds yet, I recommend right now to start ordering, and I would not wait until next month because once, like I mentioned this last weekend, from historically speaking, once the weather starts warming up, especially here in Minnesota, if you have something that you do like to grow, there's a very strong chance that as we progress through March, that it's not even going to be available because it's going to sell out, especially with the popular stuff. Um, or like the really niche seed varieties like the hybrid corn, something like that could sell out quickly because there's no alternates. No alternates of that type of plant that exist. So that's just an example of you want to be early to the game on seed ordering. Um, but anyway, that's it for today. Next time we meet, I'm gonna have a lot of stuff to share with. It's gonna be the action part of the year, so it's super excited. But I need to get back to preparing for that time. So I look forward to growing with you this summer. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. and I'll address those next weekend on the live stream. But until then,